What do you know about pirates? You probably know that they were villainous rum drinkers who attacked and stole from other ships and terrorized ports. But just think for a second. What do you really know about pirates? Most of what we think we know comes from just 2 books written during the golden age of piracy. And although there's very little evidence to back up the stories in these books, they've served as inspiration for virtually all of the stories of treasure hunting and swashbuckling that we see on page, stage and screen today. From Robert Newton's iconic performance as Long John Silver, to Johnny Depp's more recent appearance as Captain Jack Sparrow. Although these fictional portrayals have an important place in our culture, there are other sources such as old nautical journals and newspapers that can help us to separate pirate myth from pirate truth. So forget what you think you know about dashing scoundrels with eye patches, parrots on their shoulders and wooden legs. Let me tell you a bit about real pirates. Although the ship's captain acted as a figurehead for the crew, he wasn't solely in charge, and it was actually the quartermaster who ran the ship day to day. Now the first mate was technically second in command, and he would replace the captain if he was injured, ill, or killed. Other crucial roles included the pilot and the navigator, who would steer the ship and try to ensure safe passage, carpenters and coopers to repair the ship and make barrels for storage, and a surgeon to deal with battle wounds and infections. Lesser roles included gunner, cabin boy, swabby, and powder monkey. And there were even musicians who would play shanties to pass the time and keep morale up during long periods at sea. So whilst it's true that pirates generally hated authority, aboard every pirate ship there was a sort of hierarchy of jobs and roles, with a voting system to make decisions and loot was divided up fairly, making life for the crew a sort of rough and ready democracy. Weapons and pirates go together like beans and toast, and any pirate ship worth its salt would have made sure that it was well armed. Now the main weapons on the pirate ships were the cannons, and the bigger the ship, the more cannons she could hold. And they didn't just shoot cannonballs. They could be loaded with different ammo for different effects, such as nipple shot for ripping through masts or bundles of jagged iron called sangrenelle designed to maim anyone and anything in its way. Bladed weapons, such as swords, daggers and cutlasses, were very popular. And they even used small throwing knives, known as dirks. Guns came in all shapes and sizes, and the most readily available would have been the flintlock pistol. Now these were small and light, but slow to reload, leading some pirates, including Blackbeard, to carry a number of them preloaded. Pirates even repelled their enemies with weapons known as stink pots. These were clay vessels packed with chemicals and explosives, which were lit and hurled onto enemy vessels to invoke panic. Life on board the pirate ship would have been hungry work, and you're not going to buckle any swashers on an empty stomach. Unfortunately for them, the pirate diet left a lot to be desired. Whilst at sea, the crew would have eaten as much fish as they could catch, and turtles were a particular favourite because they came in their handy-own cooking pot. Cows and chickens could be kept aboard and butchered, but they wouldn't last very long, and remaining supplies often became infested with weevils, rats, and mice. Pickling was a good way of preserving food, and sauerkraut was eaten in large quantities to try and ward off scurvy. Delicious. Beef was salted or dried until it resembled black oak, and it was so tough that it could be used to carve out buttons and belt buckles. Bread was served as tough squares of flour and water, known as ship's biscuits or hardtack. Lots of herbs and spices would be used to try and disguise the taste of rotten food. Although this wouldn't stop them from getting ill. salmagundi was a dish that had no definitive recipe. Basically just anything there was thrown into a pot. But what stopped pirates from simply stealing the food that they wanted? Pirate life was tough, and pirate justice was no different, with harsh punishments designed to discourage rule breakers. The least serious punishment was being tied to the mast, but this was the pirate equivalent of being sent to the naughty step. Whilst walking the plank has been made famous by books and films, it seems in reality it wasn't that common. More often, criminals were flogged with a whip called a cat-o'-nine-tails, with the number of lashes depending on the seriousness of the crime. Cruder still were marooning, where the accused was left on a desert island without any food or water, and keel hauling, a sadistic form of punishment where the accused was tied to a rope and dragged beneath the ship until dead. Punishments on board were one thing, but since piracy was highly illegal, being caught by the authorities would normally result in either being hanged or sent to a penal colony. For these reasons, a pirate's career was usually a short one. So next time you see a jolly pirate saying "Arr," brightly dressed with an eye patch, a wooden leg and a parrot on his shoulder, spare a thought for the poor souls who actually chose the pirate life in the 17th and 18th century. Their lives were a far cry from the romantic version popularised by books, films and TV. And remember, landlubbers, be sure to splice the main brace and shiver me timbers. There's a lot more interesting reading in this exhibition about how that fictional version of pirate history evolved across page, stage and screen. So be sure to check it out.